2019, many people believed this case was closed, but it wasn't. New witnesses began to speak, old documents resurfaced, and federal prosecutors in Manhattan reopened the case. A man who had once walked free under a controversial deal, why was he arrested again? In this episode, we examine the process that led to Jeffrey Epstein's second arrest, the breaking point that even power, money, and connections could not stop. What did Epstein do to these underage girls? How did he use them? What was his real objective? This is the Epstein Files, Part 2. Let's examine it and confront how disturbing it truly is. In Part 1, we explain that Epstein was arrested on July 6, 2019, at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey after landing with his jet, and that on August 10, 2019, shortly before he was expected to move closer to a plea, he was found dead in his jail cell. There were suspicions surrounding this death. On August 8th, Epstein signed his will. He reportedly left $50 million to his lawyer, $25 million to his accountant, $10 million to Maxwell, 2 Caribbean islands to his girlfriend, and distributed the remainder of his assets accordingly. However, 2 days before his death, the will was changed and all assets were transferred into a trust fund. According to the statement of the chief warden at the prison, on the day of the death, the FBI brought a standard box and sheets and loaded something resembling a human body into a white van, which was then reflected to the press and followed by the media. Meanwhile, the actual body was allegedly placed into a black van. These details are not fully confirmed, but based on research and statements, they remain under suspicion. Differences were noted in the published autopsy reports, including the shape of the nose and ears and the tattoo on the arm. Nevertheless, the official record states that he died by suicide. The Epstein case files were released, and they contain disturbing material. There are ritual photographs, videos, and explicit content involving underage girls. In November 2025, a special law regarding the Epstein Files was introduced, known as the Epstein Files Transparency Act. But in 2026, extensive censorship was implemented and certain releases were moved forward. Alongside emails, photos, and videos, the documents also include court materials and testimonies related to the case. Images of minors, certain names, and specific details were heavily redacted before publication. Some of the victims appeared in media outlets to seek justice. Tala Davies stated that she was only 17 years old and described herself as the perfect victim for Jeffrey Epstein, saying she was alone, needed help, and that he exploited her vulnerability, making her dependent on him and pressuring her. She said she was smiling in a helicopter photo because she had no idea about the sinister plans awaiting her. Virginia Giuffre stated that she was sold to many different men, including billionaires and members of royalty, and that she was used as a form of blackmail so those individuals would owe him favors. Another victim stated that she was raped 3 times a day and that she was not the only victim, describing it as an organized chain of abuse. Among the official documents released by the Department of Justice, one of the most disturbing accounts comes from the diary of a victim who became pregnant while still a minor. According to records, around 2002, a 16 or 17-year-old girl gave birth. A baby girl was delivered and taken from her mother approximately 10 minutes after birth. In her diary, the victim wrote that she heard the baby cry and saw her tiny head and body in the doctor's hands. According to the documents, this birth allegedly took place under the supervision of one of Epstein's closest associates, Ghislaine Maxwell. The diary records that Maxwell said the baby was very beautiful, but the question that followed was, where is she now? Official records state that there is no information about where the baby was taken and that the mother was never able to reach her child again after the birth. The diary also mentions that a copy of a 20-week ultrasound was preserved, indicating that the pregnancy was not a fabricated claim, but a documented reality supported by evidence. Victims stated that after the sexual abuse, they were given cash. At the time, the money was presented as a reward or something normal, but over time, they realized it was part of a systematic structure. In her diary, one victim openly expressed that she later understood the payments were connected to an organized prostitution and pedophilia network. She described her psychological distress with the words, "He calls it a superior gene pool. Why me? I miss who I used to be. I feel like I was turned into a human incubator in cycles. I don't understand this idea of creating superior genes. I thought I would die as a sex slave." Newly released footage revealed that in 2009, Jeffrey Epstein's assistant attempted to sell a victim and client list during an undercover FBI operation. An FBI agent recorded the individual with a hidden camera. In the statement, it was said, "There were girls who were 16 to 17 years old wearing braces. There were even younger children. He lured them by buying them ice cream. What was Epstein's objective? It was claimed that he planned to create a superior human race using his own DNA. Reports indicated that he aimed to impregnate as many as 20 women at the same time to expand his genetic legacy. Records also stated that Epstein requested for his head and reproductive organs to be frozen after his death. Documents further revealed that he maintained contact with numerous high-level scientists and academics. It was also learned that he showed interest in genetic manipulation, immortality, and cryonics. However, it was never clarified who Epstein may have been working for. Years after his first arrest, it also emerged that he had been invited to meetings with more than a dozen members of Congress. It was alleged that coded language was used in Epstein's emails. Pizza, referring to girls, and hot dog, referring to boys. There were numerous references to pizza. One email read, "Hello, Anna. Mr. Epstein would like to see the pizzeria's menu. Could someone please send it? Good afternoon. Can Bryce and I go to Red Hook for a quick pizza? Respectfully." Another message said, "Slayton really wants pizza. One more." And the reply, "Yes, of course. He will be there at 4. Another email stated, "I want you to know the team really enjoyed the pizza today. Thank you for allowing us to do this." These emails were considered strange, and it was alleged that these were coded references to real victims. As more details were examined, the nature of the trafficking network became clearer. According to statements referenced in the Epstein files, it was claimed that 2 children were strangled during sexual abuse and buried. In another instance, a woman reportedly sent a photo of her baby to Epstein, after which an incredible amount of money was deposited into her bank account. She responded with surprise and gratitude, writing, "Your generosity has no limits." One email allegedly included the phrase, "I have an aquarium full of girls at the Man in the Caribbean." It was also claimed that Epstein referred to children in disturbing ways, saying, "They are like shrimp. You throw away the head and keep the body." These allegations portrayed not just a group of sexual offenders, but what was described as crimes against humanity. Epstein reportedly referred to his private jet as the Lolita Express, and individuals involved in the crimes allegedly traveled internationally using this aircraft. Epstein's lawyer and accountant later sought settlements with victims who filed lawsuits against them. Depending on the number of plaintiffs and settlement conditions, offers ranging from $25 to $35 million were reportedly discussed. This file is not just a crime story. It is an example of how money, power, and connections can obscure the truth. The statements, emails, financial transfers, and testimonies contained in the documents point to something far beyond an ordinary crime. This is not about a single name. There is a system, there is a network, and the full extent of who was involved remains unknown. Perhaps the most disturbing part is this: not everything has been revealed. Don't forget to subscribe to examine the facts together.